Hi all, Wadster here. It's been a long time since I've posted much content or been active in the community making videos, so I want to address that here. Fair to say I've been asleep at the wheel since April in terms of the bet bot, and there's reasons behind that which I want to explain what's been going on in my head. This is going to be the first of 3 videos where I share the thought processes that will shape how the community looks moving forward. There are some meaningful shifts that I want to talk through honestly. The best place to start is in talking about the model itself, where pay for profit works and where it doesn't. When I created the bet bots, I was sold on the idea that pay for profit was generally fairer than monthly subscriptions. Members only pay when they win, tipsters get paid when they deliver. It's a win-win scenario. And when the model works, it works beautifully. Dynamite Darts is the perfect model example. Consistent profits since the starting of service, members reaching new high points, tipsters getting fairly paid, and then the profit compounding for members over time. And you can see it as a concrete illustration of if Dynamite Darts was to run as a monthly service. There have been periods where David's service has broken even over, say, a 6-month period. Say members were paying a £40 a month monthly subscription. They would be paying £250 in subscription fees during that time for no returns. But on the bet bots, they pay nothing during that period. If instead over the 6-month period, they've profited £3,000 in terms of their betting profits, they might pay around £500 in the credit fees. Even though they've paid more in fees for that period than, say, on a monthly subscription model, it's been covered by the profit that they've made from their own betting. Members are always able to reinvest their own profits into the service, and it smooths the relationship between tipster and member through the natural swings of tipping. And that's always been the vision. That's what I built the bet bots for. However, it has become clear that Dynamite Darts is the exception, not the rule, and the model gets exposed when tipsters struggle. Moderate drawdowns of 30 to 40 points, low member numbers, no foreseeable income for a 4 to 6 month period for a tipster. From the tipster's side of things, incentives can collapse when they're doing the work with no kind of near-term payoff. With a monthly subscription model, the same situation resolves more naturally. Members cancel, service will kind of naturally fizzle out, and there's a clean endpoint. Pay for profit. When a service ends, members are still holding credits, even if terms and conditions state no refunds and no points transfers. It's still a difficult situation. People follow with the expectation that credits will smooth out losing periods and will be recovered later through profit, except that only works in reality if the tipster stays and makes the profits back. When they don't, members are left out of pocket. And there's another dimension to this I've only recently appreciated. Monthly subscriptions force reassessment. Every month, a member has to actively decide whether they still trust the service enough to renew. That's a healthy forcing function. With pay for profit, members drift. They keep following because they hold credits, not because they'd actively choose to sign up today. That question, would I sign up today, is one of the most important in betting. The honest truth is the vast majority of services on the platform have followed that kind of pattern. My company earns during a profitable phase at the start. The tipster earns some income during that phase, but then as variance turns or an edge becomes eroded, or for whatever reason a tipster doesn't decide to continue on the platform after a losing run, the members are the ones holding stranded credits. And it's an ethical issue and struggle that I've been sitting with. You know, there are many examples that we could take to illustrate this. Philippi, I would say, is a perfect example. Has genuine edge in the leagues that he was tipping, as was evidenced by 3 different accounts on Bloggerbet where he was making profit at pinnacle odds. Over time, he's found it trickier to find the same kind of value bets. The edge is being eroded. Users end up with credits during this losing run that they can't run down. I think the same is true for my own tennis service, where generally think the markets are becoming sharper and sharper. Similar story for Carrot Fix, and it's difficult, and it's no why I'm having to cut down a lot of volume and no longer running a paid monthly subscription model on Tipster. And ultimately all of this has shifted how I think about the bet bots. There's still a space for quality tipsters that work in this kind of setup. Dynamite Darts, for example, 30 Basket, Mercy Cricket are quality services that should continue to work well within the model if their long run trajectory remains profitable and members following those services are gaining real value. But I'm definitely going to be tailoring how I approach the business development. I'm stepping back significantly from actively marketing and growing the platform. You can see that by the fact we've only had one new service this year. Generally speaking, I'm going to be very reluctant about adding new services unless I'm genuinely confident in long-term potential. Compared to last year, I'm going to be much more honest and less hype driven in how I talk about the services that do exist. The other two videos in the series will cover why finding tipsters that last is generally harder than it looks, and where I'm taking things next in terms of my own focus with the community. I'll get around to those in the coming days. But I do want to acknowledge something directly, and that's to members who followed services that didn't work out and are sitting on credits that will never be redeemed. I really do acknowledge the frustration and really appreciate the great amount of patience and goodwill that has been given to my platform in the communications that I've had with people. It is not what I built the bet bots to be, and I am sorry that has been the experience for many at this point. The terms and conditions are what they are, but the honest position is that the model does have structural weaknesses that I didn't fully appreciate when I set it up, and I need to acknowledge that publicly rather than pretend otherwise. But that is why the next chapter is going to look different. It's less about growing the platform, more about genuinely being useful to the community around betting and ensuring that everyone ultimately is making money from the bets that they're taking. So more on that in the next video. So thanks for sticking around.